Today, I think the New York Post has a very interesting piece. It's by the Post editorial board, and the headline is "Freeze the Hunter Biden plea deal until we know who lied." This is a very good point. You know, Hunter Biden copped a plea to his many tax infringements and breaking of the tax laws, as well as the gun situation where he applied for a gun and lied about not having a drug problem. Misdemeanor, slap on the wrist, probation deal. Anybody else, I believe, based on the lawyers I've looked at, I've heard it both ways, but the ones I trust have said, actually, most of us would be in prison if they had charged what he actually did. And that's what the whistleblowers are saying about him, too, from the IRS, who have come forward saying any civilian would have been charged with multiple felonies for what this guy did. Well, now, this is an interesting twist on the whole thing. Now, one of the things the whistleblowers are saying is that they were told by the U.S. Attorney, David Weiss, who was investigating Hunter Biden, that these whistleblowers were told, and at least 5 others were told, that Weiss said he did not have authority to charge Hunter Biden anywhere outside of Delaware, and that he was denied special counsel status. Now, that's very interesting because all the stuff we're most interested in, the stuff outside of the tax laws, the stuff outside of the gun violations, the corruption charges, those would have occurred down in Washington, D.C. So in order to pursue charges, you would need the ability to charge outside of Delaware. And this guy, allegedly from the whistleblowers, told a whole staff full of people, I haven't been given that authority. I'm not allowed to charge outside of Delaware. So the reason this is so interesting is because the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, as recently as Friday, said the following, quoting here, David Weiss was allowed to, quote, continue his investigation and make a decision to prosecute any way in which he wanted and in any district in which he wanted. So Garland's saying he was a true special counsel. He could have charged any crime anywhere he wanted to. And according to the whistleblower, in a meeting with some 6 people, David Weiss said, that's not true. I was specifically told I could not charge outside of Delaware. And the suggestion is that's why we're not seeing anything against Hunter Biden on the real substance of the corruption allegations against him, which dovetails nicely with what the whistleblower said previously, which is that he was getting shut down at every turn by the Attorney General's office on any attempt to even look into those allegations or Joe Biden's connection to them. This is the New York Post now adding to it saying there is not a chance in hell this judge, because the judge has to approve the plea deal that David Weiss struck with Hunter Biden. There's not a chance in hell this judge should do that until we can figure out who the hell is lying about this investigation. What do you guys think of it?
No, I mean, look, that's a massive discrepancy, a huge inconsistency there between the Attorney General and what was conveyed by a U.S. Attorney. And remember, I mean, the background of this is actually pretty important, is that the U.S. Attorney in charge of Delaware was the one holdover from the Trump administration. They have all Biden U.S. attorneys across the country except for Delaware. And the thought process on that was at the very beginning, they would try to get out beyond any reasonable sort of hometown favor or anything that could potentially be alleged as an indiscretion against anybody prosecuting or not prosecuting Hunter Biden. But if they told this guy that he can't actually do anything outside of what was happening in Delaware, and then on the other hand, the Attorney General saying, no, they had full discretion, that seems to me to be something that Jamie Comer and his committee are going to probably get to the bottom of. Because remember, beyond what the plea deal was that we heard about last week, we wouldn't know any of this stuff if it wasn't for the House Oversight Committee. And that WhatsApp message, for example, all of that stuff, the payments, as Smug always talks about, from the various Chinese entities to 9 members of the Biden family, all of that stuff has come through congressional oversight. None of that stuff has been disclosed by DOJ. Now, you don't expect them in the course of an investigation to be disclosing everything that they come across, but when they
did during the Donald Trump investigation.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's also a really good point.
And I think, Josh is right. That's a very critical point to make, is what they had hoped to happen is they could set up a sweetheart deal for the president's son and no one would notice. The one wrinkle in their plan was Republicans took the House. That wasn't supposed to happen. They had 3 years of basically being left unchecked, where Hunter, we were told that it was Russian disinformation that he committed any kind of a crime, when we have video on it. And people were getting banned from social media for posting anything, which was, who do you trust? Your lying eyes, the media? Who do you trust in that situation? And I think this has become very clear that when you have a situation that there are two sides to this coin. One is Hunter and his lawyer, and the other is, the attorney general who works for his father. How is that a fair situation? We're seeing exactly the result of that. Here's
2 things I wanted to tell you. Ted Cruz on his podcast The Verdict, which is good. I enjoy it. He was saying yesterday, don't be fooled into this whole, David Weiss was a Trump administration appointee. He points out that, yes, out of Delaware. And in order to get that appointment, even under a Republican president, you'd have to have the blessing of both state senators, who are Democrats in Delaware. So he's saying, yes, the guy might have been palatable to the Trump administration, but there's only so reasonable he could be in the eyes of at least people who have a more conservative jurisprudence, because he had to get a blessing from, people who are on of the left. So that was an interesting point, which I had forgotten about. Secondly, yes, the DOJ, the same DOJ, which, has been so tight-lipped about any Hunter Biden leaks, leaked on Trump right from the beginning. How did the New York Times know the raid was happening? How did everybody know that, right? Like, they've been leaking over and over. And except one thing that they haven't leaked, which is very interesting, is, if you read the indictment, it talks about the terrible nuclear secrets that Trump has been hoarding down at Mar-a-Lago. Well, why haven't they leaked? Why? I mean, yes, you're not going to tell exactly all of our nuclear, but they would have gotten more specific in the leaks if they had something that really made them look bad. They would. They've proven that. And the fact that they just want to scare us with the rhetoric that's being used tells me they're trying to sort of amp it up. If they really had a dead to rights document, they would have leaked it. It would have been leaked to CNN. It would have been leaked to Maggie Haberman. We would know more specifically, without actually compromising our secrets, what exactly they had. So this DOJ is up to their necks. Here's the last point, and then I'll give it back to you guys. Via the Code of Federal Regulations, special prosecutor jurisdiction, the jurisdiction of a special counsel shall be established by the Attorney General. Then it goes on. If in the course of his investigation, the special counsel concludes that additional jurisdiction beyond the specified jurisdiction in the original jurisdiction provided to him is necessary, he shall consult with the Attorney General, who will determine whether to include the additional matters within the special counsel's jurisdiction or assign them elsewhere. So, Merrick Garland is saying, I told this guy he could take this in any direction he wanted, and he could prosecute in any district in which he wanted to, thus having the same effect as a special counsel. And now it appears that isn't true. So the question is, what should happen? Kevin McCarthy suggesting yesterday, maybe we're going to impeach Merrick Garland. If he's the one lying, he might get impeached. And if he wasn't lying, then it just proves this guy, David Weiss, lied to a group full of people and half-assed the investigation.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, this is the core of the issue, because ultimately it's one thing about Hunter Biden, and you got him on tax and a federal gun charge. The problem is where this ultimately leads, right, Duncan? I mean, this is what we've talked about.
Well, if you look at that decision, this plea deal with Hunter Biden, we've talked about on the show that they also discuss in there that there is an ongoing investigation. And a cynic might look at that and say, well, if there's an ongoing investigation that's related to all these other potential crimes, that's going to seal those records so that people can actually see everything that is there in evidence. But I guess it's also possible that those things are yet to come, right? But again, back to the whole point of taking the House, it's like none of this would really come to light in the first place if it wasn't for Kevin McCarthy and Comer putting out things like the WhatsApp message. Right. I mean, like, we would have no idea where this was going. And if you read that WhatsApp message where Hunter Biden clearly says to this Chinese businessman, like, he does it the way I talk to my toddler when I count to 5 for him to eat his dinner. Like, he's like, I am here with my father. Like, I need an answer now from you. He's like typing out, in case anybody wants to know, I'm extorting and committing a crime right now, and I'm sitting next to the former vice president of the United States. Like, how did that not come out before. And we have, obviously Jamie Comer to thank for that.
Well, I'm sure that the media was working really hard to uncover.
They seem like they were busting their tails, don't they? Just really giving it all they had.
Do you remember eating cereal as a kid? My kids love their cereal. Well, I love it too. But, as an adult, you kind of move on from it. That's where Magic Spoon comes in. They have replicated your favorite childhood cereals to taste delicious, but each serving contains 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 net grams of carbs per serving. It's a keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free way to relive those memories watching your favorite cartoons. Plus, it's only 140 calories a serving. It's like there's magic in every spoonful. With over 8 unique flavors, you will not get bored of feeling good with Magic Spoon. And birthday cake is back, by the way. The super popular, previously limited edition is now back to stay. We are celebrating our birthdays early with this fan favorite, or you can try any one of their other favorites. They've got tons of options for you. My kids love them. Head to magicspoon.com/MK to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try the magic for yourself. And be sure to use our promo code MK at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, they've backed it with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, not your cup of tea, what have you, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Love when companies do that. What better way of standing by their product? Get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/MK. Use that code MK to save yourself those $5 lovely dollars. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.